It'll come to me, but okay. And just like in 13 when they enacted the Federal Reserve Act, was that December 24th? You know, they just...
Yeah, it was like just after Congress had adjourned to go home, then a certain few did this little trick. It was like December the 24th at 12:30 a.m. or something like that. It was late at night or early morning after everybody had gone home. Then they brought it out of committee and passed it.
And no one fought it?
And nobody knew about it until it was too late.
And nobody had the chutzpah or anything to fight it? Because, I mean, they had to find out about it.
Well, everything in Congress gets hidden. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, when you're having late night meetings after hours, and you're trying to do something shady, that's when you do it. When everybody's gone home for the night and things have calmed down, that's when you bring your dirty work out and you do it. And that's what Congress does all the time.
And international bankers have all the money in the world to get all kinds of people doing all the details, while us good people work full-time jobs and try to save our country on a shoestring budget.
Well, the National Banking Act and the Federal Reserve were ruled unconstitutional in 1965 in the Credit River decision in Wisconsin. The judge, it was a case about a guy who had taken a loan out, found out that the banksters had gone in the back room, created a debt by bond, and then sold it on the open market to finance it. There was never any money printed to cover it, and so he sued him. And the judge in the case ruled that the National Banking Act and the Federal Reserve were unconstitutional.
And that stood?
So when they appealed it, the Fed gave the judge Federal Reserve notes, and he refused to accept them. Told him that they were counterfeit. Now, had they have given him the money in gold and silver, he would have accepted it and probably accepted their appeal. But since they didn't do that and tried to pawn Federal Reserve notes off on him, he refused to hear the appeal. So the case has never been overturned, and nor can it be, because the appeal was turned down. So now what we're facing is that we have, number one, an unconstitutional Fed and an unconstitutional banking act. So we're being conned on both those levels. But I want to get back to this court case. When you hire an attorney to represent yourself in a court of law, you're declaring yourself incompetent. So when you are convicted of a crime, why are you going to jail and not your attorney? Because you're incompetent to understand the case or anything that's being said, because you just declared to the court by hiring the attorney you're incompetent. So how can you be tried for competency when you've just declared yourself incompetent? So you have to understand the trickery that's going on. So whenever you file paperwork into court, you want to make sure that on the back side of your paper, in other words, if you take a document like this, and it's only written on one side and the other side is blank, you want to put on the back side in three places, read other side, read other side, read other side, because what these judges are doing in court, they're taking your case and they're looking at it, and then they flip it over, and the guy's asking the question. He says, well, I have your case right here, but I don't see anything. I wonder why they don't see anything, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing here on this side, but if you turn it over, that's reading like read other side. The judge flips it over and reads what he's supposed to be reading.
But the document is in front of him, and he's telling the truth there.
Yeah, so you have to understand the trickery and the fraud that's going on in the courts against you. And once you understand that, you're going to be a whole lot better off.
So this case, what's the case? Oh, it's that the 126 of you have contributed to the
well,
evidence?
We've got there's 126 of us who have put information into the case that Rod and his brother have developed and now have filed into the court.
Rod Class.
Rod Class, right.
And what's his title?
He's Private Attorney General. And he is the only one of two lawful private attorney generals in the United States. Rod has the full documentation and backing of the Congress of the United States. Also the backing of Homeland Security and the U.S. Coast Guard.
Huh.
So he's the same as an attorney general. Has the same power.
And being private, that means he's not under anyone's direction?
No, because he has filed into the case letters of marquise and reprisal, which also have the stamps of Congress, both houses of Congress on it.
What do marquise
there are three of them.
What do those marquise and reprisal mean?
A letter of marquise and reprisal states that a wrong has been committed and that these are the options to correct it. And those are duly filed lawful documents in this case.
And what are the items of the reason for this lawsuit? You mentioned
these are actual criminal complaints against the Congress of the United States, all branches of government, state, federal, local, law enforcement agencies, federal judges, state judges. Name them all. There's 2,600 individuals named here.
For partaking in this fraud.
Yeah. Criminal acts against the people. And treason. So, genocide is another big one.
Yeah, you were saying that thing in Africa? Is that what you're talking about?
Actually, what I'm getting to is that I was just getting ready to mention this. DOD 1970 HB 15090 is where Congress allocated $10 million to the Department of Army for the development of the AIDS virus. And after they had developed it, they went to Africa and they infected 2 million Africans with smallpox. And then what they did was they injected the smallpox vaccine with the AIDS virus, and over a period of time they have now killed over 2 million Africans. Now they not only did it in Africa, they did it in New York with a gay rights group and black Americans in Chicago, and so it's our government, ladies and gentlemen, who are in cahoots with the UN to wipe out, I believe it's 80% of the world's population through whatever means. So this is genocide on part of the UN with cooperation of the World Health Organization, the United Nations, England, America, Canada, Center on Foreign Relations. They're all engaged in it. So you have to understand that this is not just a fiction of our imagination. This came right out of the archives of Congress, the Congressional Record. And again, it is DOD 1970 HB House Bill 15090. 11.
What year was that?
1970. And I made a note up for the first responders in the United States and sent this to several state agencies, the UN, or not the UN, the FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice. So these people all know about this, and now this shows up in this court case. There plenty of reason for them to be concerned. I want to get on to some other things real quick because we're fast running out of time. And I wrote a letter to Senator Voinovich of Ohio, and this relates to the non-government agency, the Internal Revenue Service. It's called the Great American Swindle, the Incorporation and LLC. It's addressed to Senator Voinovich, Ohio, 524 Hart Office Building, Washington, D.C.